Hi, this is Reinhard, and I'm going to ramble about specialization. How does specialization help? Essentially, I want to show that it's a win-win situation. To consider this, we need to consider two companies before specialization. We'll just simplify them, call them A and B, and we'll assume A and B both need 200 squares and 200 triangles to do their business. If A can procure or make 200 squares at 10 rand each, that would lead to a cost of 2,000. The squares at 30 rand each, 6,000 rand. And in a similar way, B, that has got slightly different conditions, and it can make squares at 20 rand and triangles at 20, also at 20 rand. Both of them will need 8,000 rand to be able to meet their needs. So now A and B decide to specialize and trade. So specialization essentially is an economic principle. Now this is not intended to be an economics lecture, but let's explain it in simple economic terms. So what did we have? A and B each spending 8,000 rand to make the stuff that they need. A now decides it can rather manufacture 400 squares, which will cost them, of course, 4,000 rand, but they can now sell 200 of those at 15 rand each to B, which does not have to manufacture their 200 at 20 rand each anymore. So B now procures 200 square units at 15 rand, which costs them 3,000 rand, and there's 3,000 rand flowing back to Company A. In a similar way, Company B could decide to make triangles and rather make 400 units, costing them 8,000 rand, selling them to A, which now needs to only pay 5,000 rand over to B to get their 200 units, which was sold at 25 rand each. And of course, 5,000 rand comes back to B. If we now do our sums, we can see that it's no longer 8,000 rand, but that both of the organizations only have a net spend of 6,000 rand. So what happened here? A and B both decided to specialize on one item that they make. They did trade, and effectively each of them had to spend 2,000 rand less. Now this is quite clearly a savings of 2,000 rand on both sides. Can you see why I say specialization and trade can lead to a win-win situation? Of course, there's many things that could go wrong. Some people can get greedy and they want to sell stuff at something that it's not worth. Some organizations might not have the capabilities to produce some of these goods at all. But if it's a general free trade, kind of fair trade environment, then specialization and trade can lead to a win-win situation. Of course, in real life, there's other factors that come into play. Many of them could make it better or worse, depending on what the situation is. Economy of scale. When I manufacture something at 20 rand a unit, if I double my manufacturing, it might actually start costing me less than 20 rand a unit even, and therefore the saving could even be greater on my side. That also gets mentioned in the whole idea of marginal cost, that to add one unit to your production will not cost the same as what the first unit actually does cost. Of course, doing all of these things might add a transaction cost to the whole environment, but that was not the purpose of this little talk. It was just to show you that specialization and connect that with fair trade can actually lead to a win-win situation. Both parties can be winners. Of course, real life is not as simple as just having two businesses that need two things, but the ideas are the same, although they might need to be applied to more things and maybe throughout the supply chain. Thank you for listening. I think we can all agree that we've come to the conclusion that specialization in trade is a win-win.